Hello, and welcome to Insightful Conversations with your host, 3 Principles practitioner, Del A.D. Jones. Join her each week as she welcomes some of the world's leading 3 Principles teachers and practitioners who share how this understanding has dramatically improved the quality of their lives and the lives of those they work with.
I'm so honored to have in the studio today with me a wonderful man who hardly needs any introduction, and that is Dr. Jack Pransky. As most of you already know, Jack is one of the original students of Sydney Banks and has been around this understanding since the early days. He's also an international 3 Principles consultant, speaker, trainer, and practitioner, and author of numerous books, including one of my favorites, Somebody Should Have Told Us. So welcome, Jack. Thank you so much for being with me.
Great to be here, Del.
Oh, I know. I know you've been running around and just arrived in LA yesterday, and you have a conference that you're putting on with a few of your fellow teachers.
Right.
So.
But it's especially nice to be sitting here with you after we were just in Peru together.
I know. That was, oh my God, that was such a magical time. And, you know, I was just sharing that between you and Nicole, the teaching wasn't just in what we learned in our training sessions, but just the whole event was just magical. And, oh my God, it's still, like you said, it's only been, how long ago?
A few weeks, but
yeah, I think
it seems like yesterday.
Exactly. One of the things that you really touched upon a lot during that training that I'd love to talk about today in depth is you talked about deep listening. And that was something that I think a lot of us think that we know how to listen, and we really don't. We're often processing and planning our rebuttals or our retorts or whatever, or figuring out what we're going to say next. And so can you explain to our viewers what deep listening is?
Well, it's hard to explain,
Yeah.
but I used to think I was a good listener
Yeah.
before I learned deep listening. And once I learned it, I couldn't believe what a pathetic listener I was. I mean, because I never realized that when I was listening to someone, I would have thoughts. And these thoughts in my head I would start following my thoughts, and I would lose the person.
Yeah.
So I was really only listening to myself. And it's it's just such a typical way for people to listen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we have things on our mind like distractions or solutions, or we think it's something about ourselves, we're going to be not listening to the other person. We're going to be listening to ourselves.
Yeah.
So deep listening is really, it's kind of like just becoming an empty vessel and just being there with someone and just picking up the energy between 2 people. Mm. And that energy just happens to have all the answers.
Yeah, I love that. I know it's and just also just in our relationships, in our private life, we're just not really present to what the other person, to the essence of who they are at their core, and the essence of what they're trying to say to us. If we're just sort of listening to the words and as you say, getting sidetracked with where we start going, listening to our own thoughts. But also in coaching, I know that in coaching that, deep listening is a really integral part of that as well.
Well, it's everything about coaching.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm coaching somebody, I was telling you in the car on the way here, I am in I don't know mode. I have no idea what's going to happen. I am just in empty vessel mode. I don't know, and I'm waiting for something to strike me. So I might throw out a question. Yeah. I might throw out a comment, see if it takes hold. But really, it's until I hear something from deep within myself, that's what I'm going to say to the person. And that's when it's going to affect the person, at least have a better chance of affecting the other person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so beautiful, because I've been through a number of coaching programs myself, and before I came across the principles, and they were teaching us all these skills and tools and techniques, and I used to say that it was like, rattling that toolbox. It was like you'd be listening to somebody going, oh, God, I got the tool for that.
Yeah.
And you sort of rattle your toolbox, grab out the tool, and there's no really deep connection. It's just sort of, it's like you're exploring on this surface level.
Right. Yeah. And what we're after is a deep connection. where you can actually feel it from the other person, and that person can feel you. So it's an incredible thing, really, when it happens.
Yeah.
And I've done enough trainings where I've helped people with it that I see magic happen between two people that way. But I want to pick up on something you said before, which is, like taking it home. People don't realize that, when they deep listen to each other in a training or in a counseling session, the idea that they could actually take that home and use it on their spouses and partners and kids. I mean, what a concept that is. That's kind of where the rubber meets the road.
No, exactly. It's so true. I mean, after coming back from Peru, I was sort of quite humbled. I was like, ooh, I thought I was pretty good at listening. And then, same as you, I realized that I just wasn't. I mean, I was good at listening to words. I could parrot back to you the words you were saying. But I wasn't really giving somebody the space to even explore what it is they wanted to say. Give them the time instead of like rushing in with a, like I say, with a retort or something back.
Right.
Just that time. That, I noticed the exercise you had us do. It was so beautiful to just know that we could sort of go on this sort of meandering journey within ourselves when somebody was just holding that space and just deep listening.
Holding the space. Yeah. That's a very good description of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think I shared with you the woman who I love dearly was amazing and really great. She at one point said that she thought she could sort of coach me. And I remember the visceral feeling I had of when she started to coach me with like sort of words and things. I was like, oh, no, come back.
Yeah.
I want what we had before, just that lovely space to just sit there. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's an amazing thing when people realize that deep listening has nothing to do with the words whatsoever. We're kind of listening underneath the words to what they're really trying to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know what they're trying to say.
Exactly. Or sometimes they have something deep inside them that they're afraid to say, so they're covering it with a lot of words.
Yes, that's true. And thoughts get to us a lot. And most of the thoughts that get to us are the ones we don't even know we're thinking.
I know.
The thoughts that are behind the scenes in our head, like working their magic behind the scenes and driving us in different ways without our really even knowing it. And we can listen for that. We can listen for things that they don't even know.
Yeah, that are not in their conscious awareness. No, I know. I mean, it happens. I love what you share. All this stuff happens to all of us. I mean, we all just get caught up. After returning back from Peru, which was a magical time, I just found myself in a bit of a funk.
Really?
And I couldn't. And actually, Cassie shared that she was a little bit in the same space. And I was just like, I'm not aware of any thoughts that I'm having right now that would sort of, make sense for me to feel this little sort of, it was only a couple of days. I could put it down to the 3 plane changes, 16 hours of traveling. But it's sometimes there is no sense to it. You don't know the thoughts that are creating those feelings. But just to get quiet with yourself and just honor that's the space you're at and it's going to pass.
That's true. Well, we were in such an uplifted time, you could say.
Yeah.
And then you come back home and it's mundane life, the routine. And, if we have a thought of comparison, we're going to get brought down.
Yeah.
If we have a thought that this is the way my life is, we're going to get brought down.
Yeah.
Until we realize that comparison in itself is a thought it's like a killer thought, comparison.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that one big time.
I am too.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's interesting because that's a subtle one. So it's not like a big one that you can say, well, it's this, but it's that subtle comparison.
Right.
Yeah. All the ways we can get.
There are so many ways we can mess ourselves up.
I know. So another thing that you talked about that I really loved, and that was the what versus the how of the principles. And we talked a lot about that on our retreat, and I'd love to just go over that again. Because I know that a lot of people, when they first come across the principles, they're like, how does this apply in my life? How do I put it to work every day? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, the mistake that most people make with the principles is to think that it's a prescription for living a healthier life, living a better life. It's really got nothing to do with that. Happens to be a byproduct, but it doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just a description, purely a description of how our experience of life gets created moment to moment. That's it. So people say, well, how do you do that? You know, this we are doing it already. Every moment we are using the three principles, whether we know it or not, to create our lives with. And sometimes we're in the dumps. We've used them in a way that creates down in the dumps. Sometimes we're flying high. We use the principles to create flying high. It's never any different. It's just a description of how it works. So people will look to the outside world, and they'll think of the circumstances that are in their life that might not be so good, or the way they grew up, or they'll think of the situations that they're in, or they'll think of what other people do to them, or how they, speak to them, or something like that, or they'll think of a physical condition that they might have. All of that is in the outside world. And that is a fact. It's going on in the outside world. And then there's the meaning we make of it with our thinking, with the meaning we make of it for our lives. And that is where the problem is. And underneath all that, there's the essence of who we are as human beings, as pure spiritual beings, as formless energy itself that comes into our pure consciousness and gives us peace, love, and wisdom. And that if we weren't getting in our own way with our way we use our thinking and creating reality, quote unquote, that way, then what would be left with is what everybody's looking for in life. Everybody's looking for peace, love, and to be guided by wisdom. And that is what is available to every one of us in every moment.
I love that. I have one of your quotes here, which is actually one of my favorite quotes of the three principles. We are all peace, love, and wisdom, and the power to create illusion that we are not.
Almost.
All
we are.
Yeah.
All we are.
Yeah.
It's all we are. Is peace, love, and wisdom. That's in our soul. That's the essence of who we are. We already are that.
Exactly.
We don't have to do anything to get it. And then we take this incredible power that we have and we use it to create illusions that we are not what we are.
I know.
And it's very, very humbling.
It is, and it's crazy because we think that it's the gathering of things in the external world that are going to give us that peace, love, and joy that we already are.
Right, exactly.
It's so funny that we almost run away from what we are in pursuit of what we are.
That's right. It's exactly what happens. And it's weird.
It is weird.
And we're all doing it. We're all in the same, as Sid Banks used to say, game. We're all playing the same game without knowing it. And I just want to say one more thing about the how. So that's what I was describing as the what. It's that our experience of life gets created moment to moment the same way all the time. And if we kind of fall back away from that thinking, we are left with the essence of who we are. So that's the what. Now, the more deeply you look in that direction, the more deeply, that's where insights happen. Like from that place. So people say, well, how do I drop my thoughts? Or how do I get to be in a better feeling? Or, how do I get out of my own way? Well, all those are how questions. And the answer is look more deeply into the what.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, as you know, people say, it's the description, not the prescription. People are still looking for the tell me what to do.
Yes, exactly.
And like you say, just if you just keep looking back to the essence. I mean, like you say, your wisdom is going to come from that point.
Yeah,
place.
and we can tell people how until we're blue in the face, and they'll take it in, but they won't have an insight about it.
Yeah,
The insights come from looking deeply into the what,
yeah.
into the
exactly.
way it works.
Yeah, it all goes back to that. And even though there are times when we get so caught up where it just really still feels like, but life is happening to me,
Right.
you know.
Well, we are creating. We're the creators. We don't create what thoughts pop into our head, but we create what happens with them when they get there.
Yeah, exactly.
And when they give us a feeling that we're living with and we're stuck with, or even if we're not stuck with it, any feeling that we have, any emotion that we have, that's our creation.
Yeah. I used to say it was like, you know, like a neighbor that would sort of be on the street and come and rapping at your door, and, you know, those are thoughts. You can't stop a neighbor coming and knocking on your door, but do you open the door, invite them in, and just say, hey, hang around for a while. It's the how much we're going to give them importance and entertain them.
Right.
So, we can't control who comes up to this door on the outside. Those are thoughts.
Right. And can you imagine the kinds of thoughts that go through people's heads when somebody knocks on the door? And it varies also from different time to different time.
Yeah.
And each time we are getting a different experience of it depending upon what our thinking is about it in that moment. And when people really kind of grasp this, you know, when they catch on, wait a minute, that's the only way that my emotions are happening.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with what's going on in the outside world. It's like that's life-changing.
Yeah. You shared something with me in the car driving over here about you've just finished a training in Denver. Would you be comfortable sharing that insight that somebody had when they were feeling stuck?
Oh, yeah. So we had just done a couple of activities, and the guy had not made any progress on his problem. So we were sitting in the full group, and he was talking about a boss that was driving him crazy, and he knew it wasn't just him because the boss was driving everybody crazy. So he was at his wit's end about it, and he didn't really see how the principles had anything to do with this. So I was deeply listening to him, had nothing on my mind. And then the most bizarre thing came to me. And I said it kind of with some trepidation. I said, where's your power? And he just broke down. He totally lost it. And he said to me afterwards, that's what I really, really needed to hear. Because he realized that he was giving up his power to his boss.
Yeah.
And so was everyone else that worked in that office. Now, once you have a thought like that, then what you do will naturally follow from what you think.
Yeah, exactly.
And it will be in a totally different place than going from fear or anger or worry, you know, or bother.
Yeah, just like completely that feeling like a victim of, all of a sudden you just realize that's you know, you're not a victim.
Right.
You're the power.
The boss is doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
He's saying whatever he's saying. That's all it is. We take it from there.
Yeah.
We take it from there and get it planted into our head as some kind of thought or series of thoughts, and we come up with misery. You know, but it's us. It's us doing it to ourselves.
Exactly, and especially in a situation like that where we go, but there's evidence. You know, everybody feels this way.
That's right.
But it's like when my mother passed away, just over a year ago. I'm one of 7 children, and I could say, well, my mother passed away. Of course I'm sad. But I saw the wide range of responses.
Yeah, so
At
did I when my
7.
father died
Yeah.
and my mother died.
Yeah. And you really see that, yes, something happened in the outside world, but it doesn't dictate how you feel about it.
And there's nothing wrong with any way people come out about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just that they're coming up with whatever feeling they have, emotion they have, experience they have of it, just by using this incredible gift of the power of thought, which our consciousness picks up, throws right back at us through our senses, and we get a real experience, drawing from all the possibilities of mind.
Yeah. And I love that. I love what you just said there, that there's nothing wrong with any of it.
No,
it's
there
just the
isn't.
knowing where it comes from. There is no right and wrong.
We can have a thought that there's something wrong,
And that's just another
and
thought.
then we'll get the experience of that.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
foolproof.
Yeah.
Whatever we think, we're going to get the experience of.
Yeah. I love it. I was listening to something earlier today too. You were doing a talk for the Soul Centered series, and somebody was sharing that, you know, when there were certain times when she just really saw that the 3 principles just didn't apply to this. It just it wasn't, you know, it just, there's no way it applied to this. And she didn't believe any of it. And you were saying that, you know, even in that moment, the 3 principles are still, that's what's happening.
Yeah, she's using the 3 principles to not believe in the 3 principles.
Exactly. I love that. It was like full circle.
Right.
Yeah, you can't run away from it.
Right, you
Yeah.
can't.
So, as I say, I mean, the training in Peru was unbelievable, and I'm so excited to be joining you at the end of the year in Spain. I know you're doing one. Are there any other things coming up between then and, or rather now and then?
Well, I am going to the UK.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
For the 3 Principles conference there, and then I'm also going to be doing a thing for a community group in London at that time. But that's really all I have planned. I'm winding down. That's all I have planned until Spain comes around.
And you also, I mean, I've told you this when I saw you in Peru. I love listening to your audiobooks. There's something so soothing about your voice, and I think even Rohini Ross said the same thing too. When you have an audiobook, you tend to listen to it so often, especially in LA. We have all this driving to do, and I know that you're working on your next one. Is that correct?
I am working on my next one. I've gotten a little sidetracked about it. Seduced by Consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so far only one is on audiobook.
Yes.
And I'm glad it turned out the way that it did, because I made a tremendous number of mistakes. But that's a good example.
Yeah.
You know, I could kick myself with my thinking about making all these mistakes, and it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. So the fact that it came out okay
it's more than okay. I told you it's one of my favorite ones to listen to, and I don't know what the mistakes were. They're irrelevant because I don't see them. They were wonderful. So I'm so glad there's a new book coming out too, because I think I've probably listened to the somebody should have told us about 10 times already. So I'm ready for a new book. So that's great. So I'm just trying to think, is there anything else that, because we believe it or not winding down here. So is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up? We've got a few more minutes.
Not really that I can think of. I just I was telling you in the car that I'm kind of winding down in terms of my imminent retirement. I've been teaching this stuff for 28 years, and it's time for me to do something else. It just feels like it.
Yeah.
Feels like it. I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't, you know, if people ask me for a coaching session, that I wouldn't take it, or mentoring or something. Especially if people invite me to some other exotic place like Peru, I might do that.
We were coming up with a bucket list of
Yeah,
places.
that's right. But
I'm going to be the director of that bucket list tour that you do.
right, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But you know, just for run-of-the-mill trainings, I'm not going to be involved with them anymore.
Yeah.
After the end of the year.
Yeah.
My last one will be Spain.
Yeah, really. Well, that's pretty great. It's a great way to. But yeah, we talked about some in the Caribbean and some of the
Yeah.
Greek islands.
Yeah,
and
bring it on.
we'll work on that. We'll let everybody know what's next.
Yeah.
Well, I really, this has been wonderful. I can't thank you enough. And I know you're very, very busy. And I just, deep listening, it's applicable in all areas of our life. And I just want to finish off with also deep listening with ourselves.
Deep listening with ourselves. That's the way that we know. That's the way we can hear wisdom speaking to us,
Exactly.
which we're always being guided by. Mm-hmm. We just don't know it.
Yeah, we just keep thinking, getting in that busy mind and not giving ourselves that time. So I'm glad that you've been deep listening to yourself and you know that there's some
Sometimes
changes.
anyway.
Well, that you feel that it's time to change a little bit the way you've been doing things and
Right.
honouring that. So
Right.
that's wonderful. Okay, well, thank you again.
Well, it's my pleasure, Del, really.
All right,
Yeah.
and I will see you this weekend in
Okay.
June and in Spain.
Great.
All of it.
Excellent.
All right, lovely. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.